Hello, and thank you for watching The Righteous Kitchen, a cooking and baking blog found at www.therighteouskitchen.blogspot.com. I am going to show you how I make my rice pilaf. So to get started, at the stove here, I have a large pot with a lid. You want a tight fitting lid so that your rice will cook. I have another pot to boil my water. That water is going to be seasoned with Tone's chicken bouillon cubes. I use Uncle Ben's converted rice or any converted rice. The nice benefit to that is it's parboiled. Sometimes you'll see it as parboiled written on the label. That means it's been partially boiled. And the benefit to that is you don't need to rinse your rice. So converted or parboiled rice. Today I am using 1.5 cups of that. So I doubled my water to 3 cups of water. And then I use the fideo coils. I'm using 2 coils. But if you don't have fideo coils, you can use spaghetti or even thin spaghetti. You're just going to want to crumble that. And then I have some vegetable oil for browning the fideo. And then, of course, you're going to need some butter to season your rice pilaf. To get started, we are going to put in the 3 cups of water in a large saucepan with our 4 Tone's chicken bouillon cubes that have been crushed. And we're going to get that to get both of these pans going. We want that back one on high, and then we want this top one on medium high. So we are going to oil it. Just put 3 or 4 good splashes of oil, about a teaspoon worth of oil. And then I have this fideo pasta. You're just going to crush it with your hand and put that in. Now we're going to let this brown. Now, my grandmother, a sweet Armenian lady, she would brown her fideo using butter. We don't do that any longer because the butter can actually burn. So just use a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil and just get in here. But you're not going to want to leave the pan once you start cooking the fideo because it can burn very quickly. So just stay here, keep an eye on it. And then once it browns, everything's going to move really quickly. So you're going to need to have everything in place. Now I am going to go ahead and just cover this a little bit so that the water can boil faster. Now I used to not boil my water first. I would put it in the fideo and just let it boil, bring it up to a boil. But my mom taught me that if you boil the water and then add it to your rice, that your pilaf will come out fluffier. So I'm not one to argue with my mom. If she says that's what I should be doing, well then that's what I'm going to do. So this is just going to take a couple of minutes. You want to keep stirring it. And then all of a sudden it'll just brown up for you. Now if you notice that things start moving too quickly, you can always turn the heat back or take it off of the burner. But once it browns, you just want to be careful that it doesn't burn. This is going to give a nice color to the pilaf. I think this is going to be a lot done faster. Okay, it's starting to brown right now, and my water is not up to boil. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off of this, but I want to show you exactly what's happening. See, it's browning, and if I keep it on the heat, it's just going to get too brown. So this is just with the heat off, and I'm stirring it, and it's still continuing to brown. Just keep stirring. All right. Now the heat is off because the water is not boiling. So what I'm going to do now to cool down my pan a little is go ahead and stir in the rice and the butter. So I'm using 4 tablespoons of butter. If you have unsalted butter, that would be good because there's already enough salt in the chicken bouillon. So we'll just go ahead and stir this. And that's going to keep that fideo from getting too dark. Now you'll see recipes for a stick of butter, but you know that's really too much. You just only need, I just use 4 tablespoons. You can even cut it back, and this is a recipe and a half. You usually would make 1 cup or 2, but I'm making 1 1/2, and I've only used 4 sticks of butter, or 4 tablespoons of butter. All right, so let me look at the water. That water is going to be a couple more minutes to boil, so I will come back in just a minute. Okay, I have the water is back up to a boil, so I went ahead and turned the rice burner back on to medium high. And I'm just going to go ahead and pour this boiled chicken broth, there you go, right into the rice. So we're going to bring this up to a boil. Now this is the only time that you're allowed to stir it. Once it comes up to a boil and you put the lid on it, there's going to be no more stirring. So this is going to take a few minutes. I want it to, well, it shouldn't take too long because we had boiling water in there, didn't we? But it has cooled down because of the rice. And we've got quite a bit of rice. We have 1 1/2 cups of rice and 2 coils of the fideo. So it might take a couple of minutes. I will come back when this, well, here, I spoke too fast. It's starting to boil right now. Let me put the lid on and it'll go even faster. Now I'm going to set this when it simmers. It's going to be, if you have an electric burner, I would say about 3 On the gas, I'm going to say about 3 also. Set it where the 3 would be. Just kind of imagine where that would be. Okay, it is boiling now. Like I said, this is the last time that you're allowed to stir it. Got a good boil. So we're putting the lid on. And we're going to cut this heat down. I'm going to say about where, imagine where a 3 would be. If your dial goes 1 to 10, you got to look at it. Right there is about where I would think a 3 would be. So I am going to check on this in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes, and it's a good idea to check this. So the way you want to check it is, again, we're not stirring. What we're going to do is just tilt this. Be careful, there's a burner there. So tilt this and see those little holes? Those are steam holes where the water is coming and evaporating. So if you tilt your pan, and here we have it just standing upright, there's no water coming down here and pulling up. So this rice is done. It is completely evaporated, and that took 15 minutes. Generally, it takes about 20. So I'm going to put the lid on it and turn the heat off. But it could just sit here for a few minutes before I stir it or get ready to serve it. It could just sit there and hang out till you get ready to serve. So that is it, and I will show you a picture when I get ready to serve. Okay, this rice pilaf has been sitting, and I was finishing up some other dishes, but this is it. You just fluff it up when you're ready to serve. Look at that, nice and fluffy. And buttery, nice buttery chicken flavored rice pilaf. And then when you let it sit, if any rice is stuck, by just letting it sit there, it all comes up from the bottom. Look at that. No rice sticking at the bottom. So that's it. Beautiful, fluffy rice pilaf. And like Mom said, boil that water before you put it in with the rice. It's going to make everything nice and fluffy. I'll bring it over here and get you a close-up of that